Now we are going to learn about Satyagraha. So before we begin with Satyagraha, we will come to know that after 1915, right? Okay, we all are aware about now we will learn about Satyagraha. But before we start this, we will collect some information or we will learn about Mahatma Gandhi. As you all aware that before the starting of First World War, Mahatma Gandhi ji was not in India. For higher studies, he went to London. There he completed his barristery, that is the study of lawyer. And once he completed, he went to South Africa, where he continued with his practice. And then finally in the year 1915, he returned to India. When he arrived, he was quite shocked to see the situation of our country. The life, economic life, social life and political life of our people. And he was so moved by this. And finally, he started the freedom struggle for our country. As you all are aware, he was moved by the drama or the play of Raja Harishchandra, right? From there he learned, or we can say, he started walking on the footstep of Satyagraha, on the footstep of Satya, truth. And from there he practiced this. Truth always triumphs. So in the year 1915 he arrived, and later on, one by one, he took various movements, and finally our country became free in the year 1947. So Satyagraha was the main and the most powerful tool used by Mahatma Gandhi. So now we will learn about what actually Satyagraha is. So Satyagraha means what? Okay, if a person is fighting against the injustice, if you are fighting for the truth, then your victory is final. When you know your fight is against injustice, then the Satyagrahi need not use any external or the physical force. Only what the person needs to do is to make your enemy realize that what he is doing is incorrect. We need to make his soul, his mind, his heart understand that he is not on the correct path. The act that he is doing is not correct. And once we are in a position to make him or her realize the fact, the truth, there is no need of physical force. And without using the physical force, we will be victorious. And that's what Mahatma Gandhi emphasized on. To get freedom, we need not fight. We need not use physical force. Without using physical force also, we can make the change in the society. We can bring revolution in the society. And that's why we see in the history, with the use of Satyagraha, Gandhiji helped us to gain freedom. Now we will see the various Satyagraha that Gandhiji took during his lifetime. So 3 Satyagrahas that he carried out. Among them the first one was In 1917, Champaran Satyagraha. So when we talk about Champaran Satyagraha, right, it is a place in Bihar. Now when we go back to the history, the situation was that the people of Champaran were affected by the various famine and drought. Finally, time came when the government introduced, East India Company introduced Teen Kathia. It's a type of a agreement that was done between the farmers of Champaran and East India Company. According to this, on the 3/28th, that is this part, they have to grow indigo, and on the remaining they can grow their crops. But later on, farmers realize that the part of the land on which they are growing indigo, it is making their fertile soil infertile. So slowly they started denying, but common man, the farmers could not win over the government. Finally, they approached Mahatma Gandhi, and Mahatma Gandhi helped the farmers of Champaran to fight against this oppressive indigo system. We know that indigo plant, right, it is used to make a dye to color our clothes. So that was the first satyagraha that Mahatma Gandhi did in India. Keep in mind, for 1 marks also it is important, and even in the map also we will be doing, locating or identifying where the Champaran Satyagraha took place. So it is quite important. So Champaran Satyagraha, as I said, he motivated the farmers to fight against the oppressive plantation system, what we discussed in detail, but for writing in the exam, this is more than sufficient for you because we have the word limits. We move to the second one, that is Kheda Satyagraha. We all are aware that Kheda is a place in Gujarat, right? The place where generally we have the paddy plantation in Gujarat. In other place we don't find. So again, Kheda was affected, the crop failed. But as per the survey that was done by the British government, they said that Kheda is a place which is good for agriculture. It is not affected by the famine or the drought. So the government decided to increase the tax by 23%. But the reality was that Kheda was also affected by the famine and the drought. And the people of Kheda were not in a position to even pay the present revenue. So increasing the revenue by 23%, it was almost impossible for them. So finally the people approached to Mahatma Gandhi once again. We are already in a very worse condition. We requested the government. We even sent the petition also, but the government is not ready to listen to us. So please do something for us. Finally, Mahatma Gandhi tried, but government was not ready to convince. So finally a satyagraha was started. Kheda Satyagraha was started by Mahatma Gandhi along with the people of Kheda. And Mahatma Gandhi denied that we are not going to pay the revenue. And finally government was helpless and they have to nullify the new law, that is the increase of the tax was cancelled. The third satyagraha that we have is, it took place in 1918 in Ahmedabad, that is cotton mill workers strike, we can say. So again we all are aware that after the First World War, right, the condition of the farmers, right, was not good, and even during the war time also, because as we had learned in our previous video, right, there was famine, crop failed, and most of whatever was produced was exported. So life for the farmers and common men was really very difficult. So famine occurred, and it was very difficult for the people of Ahmedabad and the workers, especially when we talk about. So they started moving back to their native place. So to attract the people, a bonus scheme was introduced. Like bonus scheme was introduced by the mill worker. But later on, as the situation became normal, they stopped this bonus system, plague bonus. So the people, the workers denied, and finally the mill owner, they have to hire new workers from the Bombay presidency. Looking at this, Mahatma Gandhi got involved in this. He studied the whole situation, and finally negotiation was made between the workers and the mill owners. And in this, 35% DA hike was given to the farmers, keeping the present situation. Means at that time, looking at the situation, the expenses and the cost, everything, finally 35% hike was given in the salary to the workers instead of 50% which the farmers demanded. So here also they demanded for good wage, good working condition, and limited hours. So these demands were later on fulfilled. So these were the three demands which were started or carried on by Mahatma Gandhi. Now we come to the next topic, that is Rowlatt Act 1919. It is named after Sidney Rowlatt, the person who introduced this act. Now, why this act was introduced? So when we go back to the war time, so in the year 1915, the British government was quite worried. Already we are engaged in the First World War, and plus in India we had to see the various revolts, conflicts. So managing both the side, it was quite difficult for them. Therefore, finally they passed an law till the war gets over and another 6 months, if any revolution or revolt is done by the Indian, it will be considered as a revolution and they will be punished for that. It will be considered as a terrorist act. So to stop this terrorist act, they passed that law. And finally, the war came to an end in the year 1918. Another 6 months also passed by. Now the British were worried what to do after the time period gets over. How we are going to control the Indians, the revolutionaries, the freedom fighters. So they thought of a plan, and that was known as Rowlatt Act. Now when this act was introduced, right, our INC, Indian National Congress, Muslim League, all the prominent leaders, they revolted against this. They did not favor this as it was totally against the Indians. But the Imperial Legislative Council, they were least bothered, they neglected, and they passed this law. Now what does this law deal about? According to this law, if any political activity is carried out against the government, or if the British people, that is the police or anyone, they have any sort of doubt or they feel that some conspiracy is being done by group of people or any individual or political leaders or freedom fighters, without any trial, without any case or FIR, directly they will send those people to the jail for 2 years. It means if you are caught, direct punishment for 2 years. After your punishment gets over, 2 year gets over, then there will be reopening of your case. Then lawyer from your side and from the government side, and then whatever the final verdict or judgment comes. But first you have to undergo the imprisonment of 2 years. So this was not liked by the Indians and the leaders. So finally they opposed it also. So Mahatma Gandhi carried out nationwide satyagraha. On 6th April, he started civil disobedience with non-violence hartal. At different places, shops were locked, strikes were carried out in the railways, dockyards and different places. Now the government got quite worried. If the situation goes on like this, it may happen that they may destroy the railway tracks, telegraph, telephone, government buildings. So government started responding very harshly. And finally on 10th April, there was conflict, violence conflict between the nationalist and the police, which led to a violence in Amritsar, and because of that on 11th April, martial law was introduced in Amritsar and General Dyer took the charge of Amritsar. Now we will learn about what were the factors responsible for Jallianwala Bagh. Okay, after this Jallianwala Bagh incident took place, a very sad tragedy of our Indian history, but there has to be some factors which were responsible for that. So there are 3 factors responsible for that. The first one is Rowlatt Satyagraha. So just now we studied about Rowlatt Satyagraha, which was started by Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi organized this satyagraha by calling out for nationwide strike. Then non-violence civil disobedience was organized on 6th April, as I said, and rallies were organized in the different cities of our country. Number 2, Rowlatt Act. So as we discussed, Rowlatt Act means according to this act, government got the power, more power, we can say immense power to crush the political activities. So they can arrest the political leaders or those who are indulged in the political activities and send them to jail without any trial for 2 years. So that was your Rowlatt Act. And third one we talk about is martial law. So as I discussed, finally because of the violence in Amritsar, martial law was introduced. That is, people cannot come out in groups, just like a curfew as we are seeing right now. So finally, as violence took place on 10th April, so on the very next day, martial law was introduced in Amritsar and General Dyer took the command of Amritsar. Now we will learn about Jallianwala Bagh tragedy, which took place in 1919. So here you can see the picture how the entrance was blocked, people have gathered celebrating the Baisakhi festival, and suddenly without any warning, firing was done on these innocent people, small children, elderly women and everyone. So really an inhuman act carried out by General Dyer. Here again you can see this is the clip from the movie. Now we will learn what exactly it was all about. So as we learn, on 6th April, Gandhiji started non-violence Hartal. Civil disobedience was started by Mahatma Gandhi on 6th April without violence. Then on the 10th April, there was conflict. Finally, it led to violence between the Satyagrahi, nationalist and the British force. Therefore, on 11th, martial law was introduced and General Dyer took the command. And 2 days later, right, so as we all are aware, India is the land of festivals. Different types of festivals are celebrated in the different seasons and different months. Hardly any month goes without a festival, big or small. So in India, even one of the very well-known festival is harvesting festival, and with different names and culture and tradition in different part of our country, it is celebrated. So like Bihu in Assam, Pongal in the southern India. So similarly, Baisakhi is a crop harvesting festival celebrated in Punjab. Okay, when the crop is ready for harvesting, this is how they begin. So during that time, they organize big fair, people enjoy, and then it is started. Just like as we see during the Janmashtami in Gujarat, during Janmashtami there is Mela, fair all over Gujarat. So here also it is carried out with great enthusiasm and energy. People enjoy like anything. So finally they gathered at Jallianwala Bagh to celebrate the Baisakhi fair. Now there are few contradiction also. Few historians says that people have taken the permission from the local magistrate about this, as already martial law was introduced, so they have taken the permission. Few historians say that no doubt they have taken the permission, but the permission later did not reach to the in charge, that is General Dyer did not get the news or the letter. So because of that, the people who gathered, they were quite free. We have taken the permission, nothing to worry. And the people who came from outside Amritsar, they were not aware also. Okay, there is any sort of martial law introduced in India and in Amritsar. So they came with the strategy. Okay, what we are going to do further, we will plan about that also, and we will enjoy the Baisakhi. So both will be done at a time. But unfortunately, when General Dyer came to know about this gathering in the Baisakhi fair, without any warning, right, his troop blocked the only entrance that was there at that time, and open fire was done on the innocent people. And it is said many people, approximately 2,000 to 3,000 people have gathered over here. And hundreds and thousands of people were killed in this incident. And when later on the case was there, so General Dyer just escaped. Okay, I did this intentionally, or I did this to create fear in the mind of the Indians, the Satyagrahi. They should have the fear of British Empire. And that's all. Now, how did people, Indian people reacted to Jallianwala Bagh tragedy? So, in the northern states especially if we talk about, so in the towns and cities there was strike, then there was clash between the police and the people. People attacked on the government buildings, railways, post office, whichever symbolized government, British government, all such things became the target of the Satyagrahi or the nationalist. But again, British government also reacted very brutally. They started humiliating the nationalists. They were forced to rub their nose. They were forced to crawl on the ground. And finally, they were supposed to salute to all the police officers. At that time, we used to call Sahib or Sahib. And many villagers, right, they were even brutally beaten with the hunter, what we say. So, flogging activity was carried out. Villagers were bombarded, right. To save their life, they used to go into the forest to hide themselves. So, Gujranwala, which was at that time the part of Punjab, is one such example where Britishers, they bombed the whole village, in which the houses were destroyed, people became house or homeless. Now we move to Khilafat movement. So as we discussed in the previous module, First World War came to an end in 1918 and it ended with signing of various treaty. One of the treaty that was signed with the Germany, Treaty of Versailles, we learned last year. Similarly, a treaty was signed with Turkey also. So if you remember, the First World War took place in Europe between two groups or alliance. One group was consisting of America, England, Russia and France. So this group was known as Allies power, as we discussed initially. And another group consisted of Germany, Austria, Hungary and Ottoman Turkey. So finally, once the First World War got over, even the Ottoman Turkey, which was on the side of the defeat, right? So finally, to show to the world it was a peace treaty, but it was a very harsh and humiliating treaty that was signed with the king of Turkey. Now it is said, the king of Turkey was also the religious guru, that is the Khalifa of Islamic world. And why? It is believed that he was the successor of Muhammad Prophet. So it is quite obvious that getting our guru being humiliated, the people are not going to love this act of the Britishers or the Allies. Finally, the revolt began in Turkey, but when the news reached to Mumbai, even the Muslim in India began the revolt. And this was done by the Ali brothers, that is Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali. They formed an organization or association, we can say, which was known as Khilafat movement. A Khilafat committee was formed. Meanwhile, Gandhiji was thinking of starting a mass movement, and this needed the unity of Hindu and Muslim. But he was not having any idea how to unite Hindu and Muslim. So this Khilafat committee or the Khilaf The incident gave opportunity to Mahatma Gandhi. And finally, Mahatma Gandhi, on behalf of Hindu, supported the Khilafat committee. We the Hindus and our support is with you. And finally, it was a successful one. And later on, right in the year 1921, this Khilafat was converted into Khilafat non-cooperation movement by Mahatma Gandhi. Now the question arises, why Mahatma Gandhi wanted to have non-cooperation movement? Why there was need for non-cooperation? So the answer is quite simple, which even he has discussed in his book. Right? In the year 1909, he wrote a book known as Hind Swaraj. In his book, he has mentioned very clearly that these Britishers, they came as a trader in our country. They formed East India Company. But slowly, they got the support and cooperation of the Indian prince, kings and the people. And that's why they started ruling on us, and they are in a strong situation to command the entire India. And it is not because they are very powerful, very good, or the world's best navy, they have army, they have no. The only reason why they are ruling on us at that time, only because we cooperated and supported them. So if we stop cooperating and supporting them, if Indians deny to support them, within a year they will leave India and go back to England. And people realized this, yeah, what Gandhiji is saying is not incorrect. It is 100% correct. And people supported Mahatma Gandhi. So finally, Khilafat non-cooperation movement, the first mass movement, was started by Mahatma Gandhi. So what Gandhiji said, as it is a mass movement, at a time we cannot implement the entire movement. So for the success of the movement, we need to divide this movement into several stages. So the first stage or the first phase of non-cooperation movement, Gandhiji asked all the Indian people who have received the titles, so surrendering of all the government titles that was given by the British government. So return back all those titles. Even without their titles, we have a huge respect, great respect. We don't require recognition of British government. Boycotting of the civil services, police, army, all such services, government services were boycotted by the Indians. We will not give the exams. So finally they will have the shortage of these positions in the government. Third, all the legislative councils were also boycotted. Boycott of school, college was done by the kids, teachers and the headmasters. So they will not have the students, teachers to run their school. So once that was successful, stage 2 was implemented. In stage 2, now finally, even we got the support of the Congress in because of the session that was held at Nagpur. So they supported the NCM. So boycotting of foreign good was done. Okay, whatever the foreign goods we are having, so now all the import will be stopped. And whatever we have, we will conduct bonfire of that. We will use Swadeshi, that is khadi cloth was motivated and used by the Indians. And liquor shops were picketed. Liquor shops picketed means दुकानों को खोलने ना देना, राइट? कि अगर मुझे मेरे घर में आना है, अब आप उसके सामने जो है भीड़ जमा कर दोगे 500, 600 या 1000 लोगों के, तो ऑलरेडी 50 या 100 मीटर्स पहले ही मैं अपने घर में दाखिल नहीं हो सकता। क्यों? आपने मेरे घर के आगे इतनी भीड़ जमा कर दी है, तो मैं अपने घर तक पहुंच ही नहीं सकता हूँ, ताला खोल ही नहीं सकता हूँ। So there is no entry into the house. So that is called picketing. So all the liquor shops, लोग उसको दुकान को चारों साइड से घेर लेते थे, तो बंदा दुकान तक पहुंच ही नहीं पाता था, तो अनफॉर्चुनेटली बंद ही रखना पड़ता था, राइट? Now, what was the economic effect of NCM on Indian economy? ये NCM जो एक साल ऑन एन एवरेज चला, तो इसका हमारे ऊपर, हमारी आर्थिक स्थिति के ऊपर क्या असर पड़ा, पॉजिटिव नेगेटिव क्या है वो देख लें। तो सबसे पहले देखें कि फॉरेन गुड्स का बॉयकॉट किया गया, बहिष्कार किया गया कि अब हम मशीन के द्वारा या अंग्रेजों के द्वारा बनाई गए कपड़े या वस्तुओं का इस्तेमाल नहीं करेंगे, शराब की दुकानों को हम खोलने नहीं देंगे, और इसके कारण जो है ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट का जो ट्रेड था, जो मुनाफा उस समय ऑन एवरेज कहा जाता है कि 102 करोड़ उस समय वो कमाते थे ऑन एन एवरेज, तो वो 102 करोड़ से उनकी प्रॉफिट मार्जिन 57 करोड़ की हो गई। कीप इन माइंड ये सिर्फ हमारा एक साल का ही बॉयकॉट है, तो देखिए उनका बिजनेस कितना डाउन हो गया। तो शायद हमने एक साल और कैरी आउट किया होता तो बिना लड़ाई के ही शायद ब्रिटिशर्स चले गए होते, और हमें आज़ादी शायद 23 में ही मिल गई होती, 1923 में। फिर हमारे जो ट्रेडर्स थे उन लोगों ने फॉरेन ट्रेड्स वगैरह में इन्वेस्ट करने से मना कर दिया, फाइनेंस करने से मना कर दिया, फॉरेन गुड्स को इंपोर्ट करने से मना कर दिया। तो जब फॉरेन गुड्स नहीं आएगी तो उसकी डिमांड किसी को तो फुलफिल करनी है, तो फाइनली हमारी जो इंडियन मिल्स थी उनकी डिमांड बढ़ने लगी, और हमारे इंडियन मिल्स को काफ़ी मुनाफा हुआ।